people like me. You need people like me so you can point your f***ing fingers and say, that's the bad guy. That's the bad guy. That's the bad guy. That's the bad guy. That's the bad guy.
News. Okay, we'll start with this, our weekend recap, our continued coverage of all this past weekend's action. Over to the PBC on Amazon pay-per-view. On the undercard of Pacquiao versus Barrios, we saw Tszyu and Sebastian Fundora do the dance for the second time. This time, it didn't last as long. I was wrong, where I thought Timmy would be able to avenge the loss. Apparently not. Sebastian came back better, while Timothy came back worse. Off to a horrific start in the very first round, dropped off a hard backhand counter from Sebastian Fundora. A backhand right down the pipe sent Timothy down very early in the fight. Not an encouraging omen for what was to come. Sebastian came back better, and Timothy came back worse. The reason for it, Sebastian seems to be settling into that long-distance, long-range style more. He's getting more and more comfortable using his natural gifts, which could make him a hard man to get to, and thus a hard man to beat moving forward, whereas Timothy was more tentative, more hesitant, struggling to get within striking distance of Sebastian. He couldn't do it how he did it the first time out. Sebastian Fundora was very prolific with his lead hand, his jab hand, which for Sebastian is his right since he is a southpaw. Timmy is an orthodox fighter. Try as he might, could not find a way around Sebastian Fundora's long lead hand that he kept out there, kept blinding him with it, and kept him at arm's length, maintaining a bit of space between him and Tim. So what's different about Sebastian now, where before he used to close the gap, step into the pocket, and trade on the inside, now he's trying to use his height, use his length to stay out of harm's way. And it's working. It worked yesterday. In tandem with his work rate, because Sebastian characteristically is a busy fighter within a round, and in a fight, he's found a happy medium for using this new style while staying as busy as he usually does, because it wasn't just the jab. He was bringing over backhands, he was bringing over hooks, he was bringing over uppercuts, all while maintaining distance. He was being busy. All while maintaining distance, making it very, very difficult for Tim to get anything going. Tim just couldn't get close enough to him to do any damage. To do anything. He's getting peppered with punches very early in the fight. I believe his right eye was cut, backed into the ropes several times, trying to stay tucked behind that high guard, but punches are still getting in. Punches are still getting through. He's getting hit. And only a glimmer of the confident bruiser that he used to be occasionally came out to fight his way off the ropes and try for some big shots. He missed a lot. Couldn't get close to him. Sebastian Fundora came back better. Timothy came back worse, trying for big overhands, big punches, missing by a lot. The rounds are whizzing by, and Tszyu has started off this fight at a severe deficit. Of the 7 rounds this fight went, I could only really give Timmy 1 or 2, but the damage he was sustaining, he's getting hit, he's getting backed into the ropes, he's trying to find a way off of them, he's moving around at the same time, trying to find a safe entry to land some big punches on Sebastian, but Sebastian came back better, and Tim came back worse. Sebastian's grinding him down, throwing those straight punches from the outside coming in, but not falling in, not collapsing the pocket, always keeping that bit of space between him and Tim, making him that much harder to get to, not just because of his height, but because he's also being busy. There's just so much for Tim to have to get around. Sebastian's letting go of so many punches, jabs, crosses, uppercuts up the middle. Hooks. Latter stages of the fight, you got the sense that Tszyu made a decision to try and sell out. Just go for it. And he actually starts getting in with some good hooks, some good right hands over the top. A few left hands too. But he had already taken considerable damage leading up to those final stages, those 1 or 2 final rounds. He's getting in with some meaty punches, eye-catching punches, but he's taking damage in the process.
Sebastian Fundora came back better, and Timothy came back worse.
Where Sebastian is settling in to using his natural gifts, his height and his length, to maintain a bit of space and stay out of harm's way, Timothy was a lot more hesitant and tentative, not as quick, not as explosive, thus not as effective.
There were moments in this thing, Timothy is actually backing away from Sebastian from the amount of punches that are coming at him, and I'm screaming at the television.
What the hell are you doing?
Guy has a significant height advantage over you and a reach advantage over you. You can't stay on the outside of him. You're a sitting duck on the outside. You have to hunker down, bend at the waist and knees, tuck up, and come forward to get under those punches, but Tim did the opposite.
It's an Achilles heel for Tim, how static his torso is, so upright behind that high guard, he doesn't fight at a slight crouch, but for this fight, he needed to make himself an even smaller target, harder to hit.
No, he didn't.
Because he's so upright, he's giving Sebastian a clear path for his punches, a clear target.
Sebastian came back better, and Timmy came back worse.
In the 7th, what turned out to be the final round of this junior middleweight contest, Tim was getting in with some good punches, some hard ones, just like he did in the first fight, but it was costing him too much. Physically, it was too taxing to try to keep the pressure on Sebastian.
To try to keep up with him.
By then he had already taken too much damage, so that by the end of the 7th, he didn't come back out for the 8th. He retired on his stool, retired in his corner.
Some people might say that he quit, and maybe he did, but he gave it all he had. He didn't have no more left to give.
And I don't think it was the first fight with Sebastian that may have ruined Tszyu. I actually think it's the fight after that, the fight with Pacquiao, that was hardly a fight at all. That was just a plain old mugging.
That one did him in.
He did take a lot of punches in that first Fundora fight, and whatever he had left was finished off by Pacquiao.
It's unfortunate. I thought this kid was gonna go on to do big things. Really, really big things. I was wrong.
Sebastian came back better, and Timothy came back worse. You win some, you lose some. Tim lost yesterday.
Sad to see. In the main event, we saw a 46-year-old Manny Pacquiao draw with what was a 30 or 34-year-old Mario Barrios.
I forget how old he is, but I know that he's younger than Manny, and that's the point. Ambivalent feelings, I'm torn.
What about?
How I should feel about this fight. If I'm just gonna go off of what I saw, and who I gave more rounds to throughout the course of this fight, quote-unquote fight, then I would say I saw Manny Pacquiao win it 8-4, maybe 7-5, if I'm just going off of who I gave more rounds to.
If I'm just going off of what I saw. But if I'm also tacking on what I thought and what I think.
I'm not sure that this was even a real fight so much as a high-profile sparring session. I'm not sure that this draw wasn't preordained, that this is how it was always going to end, because you saw Manny Pacquiao go out there doing a lot of the vintage Manny Pacquiao stuff.
Huh?
Bouncing back and forth, fighting on a hop, then doubling up on the jab and letting go of an uppercut or letting go of a cross.
Though at 46 years old, he's only doing it at half speed, so it's not having the same effect that it used to, whereas Mario Barrios, he seemed the faster fighter of the two. Whenever Mario did get in with a punch, even if it was just a jab, it stopped Manny Pacquiao in his tracks. It had a noticeable effect on his entire body whenever Mario did land something. What was curious?
Why didn't he try to land more? Why didn't he go for it? This guy's 46. Mario Barrios is not a thinking man's fighter. He's not often reserved in a boxing match. He lets his hands go, so that when he's in there with a 46-year-old Manny Pacquiao, he doesn't. There's rounds Manny Pacquiao's winning in the second half of the fight, and it would seem that he's only winning them, and he's only able to throw so many combinations because there's so little coming back at him that Mario's really not responding.
Second half of the fight.
There were several rounds that I gave to Manny Pacquiao just on activity alone, not necessarily clean, damaging punches or effective combinations so much as Manny's doing all the work and Mario's not doing much of anything.
To the point I start to wonder if they didn't tell Mario to go easy on the old-timer. Make it look interesting, sell it.
Sell the dream, but don't make it too obvious that you're not trying to hurt Manny Pacquiao. You're not trying to knock him out.
So you think it was fixed?
I've said it on many occasions here on the channel that oftentimes when watching a PBC show, a boxing match on a PBC, I don't feel like I'm really watching boxing sometimes. Like, it's all scripted and preordained.
Feels different to other fights on other cards.
Been watching boxing for a real long time, and pattern recognition and certain things that you're used to. I'm expecting Mario Barrios to treat the old guy like what he is, an old guy. You get at him, you mow him down. Mario didn't really try, which allowed Manny to be the busier fighter in the fight and thus amass more rounds. That if I'm just going off of who I gave the rounds to, I gave most of them to Manny.
But that's only because Mario wasn't doing nothing.
And after the 12th and final round, when the judges' scorecards are read and they score it a draw, I think to myself, this is the only way that they can keep using Manny Pacquiao and simultaneously using Mario Barrios. They didn't want to sacrifice one to the other, I guess. Mario gets to keep his WBC title.
Manny gets a moral victory for a 46-year-old because even if he didn't win, he didn't lose either.
This gives them the wiggle room to make more boxing matches, you know? They could make Pacquiao versus Davis if Gervonta Davis ever does come back. Meanwhile, they can do a unification match between Mario and Rolly
Romero.
Get the feel of a fight after watching so many of them and what needs to be happening. That watching yesterday's welterweight title fight between Manny and Mario, I got the sense they just told Mario, go easy on the old guy, make it look good, don't hurt him.
What's the alternative? That Mario Barrios is so shit he can't win a decisive victory over a 46-year-old Manny Pacquiao that hasn't fought in 4 years?
I don't rule that out either, because Mario Barrios is pretty shit. And I said as much on many occasions in the build-up of yesterday's farce.
That didn't feel like a boxing match. That's just me being honest, and that's all I can be. That if you want to know what I think, and you're here, so I'll assume that you do.
That didn't feel like a boxing match. That's just me being honest, and that's all I can be.
That shit looked fixed.
After the fight, per usual, people are asking what's next for Manny Pacquiao, since he insists his career is not over and he will fight on. While as a customer, as a consumer, I don't actually want to see a repeat of that fight with Mario. I don't want or need to see that again. At the same time,
no rematch.
I don't know of any other shows that the PBC is going to be doing in what remains of this year. I mean, it seems pretty clear that Gervonta Davis versus Lamont Roach 2 won't be happening on the 16th of next month, if it happens at all. Some people were holding out hope that the fight would be officially announced yesterday during this broadcast, but it wasn't.
And I don't know of any other shows that the PBC plans on doing in the fall or winter months. We know they don't involve David Benavidez. His next fight is in Saudi on one of Turkey's shows.
I think the fight was fixed, I do. I think they wanted to be able to use both fighters since their stable is thinning out.
How do you do that?
Score to fight a draw in the hopes that nobody's stock takes a hit. Mario's stock, Manny's stock, in effect, both of their stocks take a hit. Because Manny's a shadow of what he was, and anybody could see that. Manny Pacquiao in his heyday would have chewed up and spat out a fighter like Mario Barrios. And Mario, if he's not good enough to beat a 46-year-old Manny Pacquiao, why is he a champion? How does he have a belt?
What the hell is going on here?
Stark contrast between the big-time fight that we saw earlier in the day between Alexander Usyk and Daniel Dubois, what had all the makings of a high-stakes fight, and it felt like one, played out like one. When you go over and you watch this, you have to notice it.
I mean, I did.
Manny is only piling up the points and piling up the rounds because Mario Barrios, who's normally busy in a fight for better or worse, isn't doing much of anything now.
Don't act like fights getting fixed is some sort of outlandish accusation. We know the sport of boxing has a long history of fixing fights. It has happened in the past. You don't think it happens now?
When Rolly Romero gets a gift stoppage over Ishmael Barroso with punches that didn't even land?
When Gervonta Davis takes a knee in the middle of the round, but the ref doesn't score it a knockdown, allows him to run to his corner to get toweled down in the middle of the round.
And what did they score it? They scored it a draw! Like they scored this a draw.
Yeah, I think this fight was fixed.
Downstairs at Super Flyweight, two unbeaten champions from Lele Cafu and Bam Rodriguez fought in what was their unification match that went for 10 rounds, each round similar to the last. Bam coming forward, backing Cafu into the ropes. Cafu tucked behind a peekaboo guard, attempting to work off the counter, but simultaneously getting outworked by Bam Rodriguez, only periodically getting in with a halfway decent punch or two, Cafu landed some punches.
Some counters.
Which I don't count as an indictment against Bam Rodriguez's defensive prowess, because oftentimes the fighter coming forward is more at risk of getting hit, more at risk of being countered. I don't think that Bam got hit with any stupid punches per se, needless punches.
Or that he got hit too much, he's taking too many punches coming in.
But he did get touched here and there as Fumalele Cafu was hanging back, trying to set traps back on the ropes. He couldn't get off. Enough punches to back off Bam and take the fight to the center of the ring. He spent the majority of this fight straddling the ropes.
As Bam worked him, searching for holes around the guard to get punches in, hooks around the side, uppercuts up the middle. Credit to Cafu for lasting as long as he did, making this a battle of attrition. Each round, similar to the last, as Cafu's strength is waning.
Defense failing, it would go 10 rounds before Bam Rodriguez would get in with a peach of a right hand along the side of Cafu's head, just above the gloves, stunning Fumalele Cafu, then unbeaten, staggered.
On unsteady legs, trying his best to keep his footing and keep his balance as Bam attempts to create a bit of space to put in more punches, pour it on. And before you knew it, the towel came out. The towel came out of Fumalele Cafu's corner. His team knew he'd had enough.
They must have, because he was down on the cards, he was badly hurt, and if they allowed the contest to go on, they know what would have happened. He would have got stopped, and he would have got stopped even worse. You live to fight another day.
This fight between Bam and Fumalele Cafu happened in the shadow of the Pacquiao versus Barrios show.
And Americans not characteristically watching the lighter weights, the light flies, the flies, the super flies, like Bam. I mean, I think he looked great. It was another stellar showing and another meaningful win for Bam Rodriguez, but it still feels like he's not getting the credit that he deserves, and that's why. Because this fight happened in the shadow of another one, a bigger one, and because Americans don't normally watch the lighter weights, but this really is one of the best fighters out of the United States. Bam Rodriguez is really something.
Now for the silver lining. In light of the other fight that was announced for Bam, set to go down later on this year, the other unification match with Puma Martinez on what will be an even bigger show, I think that will elicit an even bigger reaction and help to get him more attention.
Because it's happening on a bigger show, a show headlined by David Benavidez and Anthony Yard. That's an international stage, folks, involving international fighters all the way out there in Saudi. So even if Bam's performance yesterday isn't truly being appreciated yet, it still was just an appetizer to something bigger. We're gonna see Bam again.
This is how it's done. You built the foundations of your legacy on the backs of other champions like yourself, like Cafu. That's how he knew he did it at 118 and 122, and that's how Bam needs to do it now. This is necessary.
So he's doing it. He took care of Fumalele Cafu. Now he needs to take care of an even better, more distinguished champion in Puma Martinez, who I don't think is gonna spend all 36 minutes hanging back on the ropes. He's gonna try to make it a fight. More than Cafu did, and I'm looking forward to that.
Credit to Bam Rodriguez for delivering. I felt that he would stop Fumalele Cafu, and that's what he did. He forced the stoppage.